call this meeting to order and ask you to stand please for the invocation. Commissioner Jones will remain standing for the pledge.
Dear Lord, we appreciate the opportunity to represent the citizens of Effingham County and to be here tonight to conduct your business. We pray that you'll be with us and lead us and guide us, and give us the wisdom that we need to make appropriate decisions for all parties involved and for the taxpayers. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. First item is consideration of a resolution to approve the agenda. I will give you notice that I wish for you to add to new business number 9, as new business number 9, information which you should have in your packet. As a consideration to accept the allocation of $50,000 from the law library for the drug court. It is time sensitive and feel that it would be appropriate to have it added. Other than that, I have no changes or conditions at this time. Motion?
Make a motion that we approve the agenda with the addition of new business number 9, approval of the drug court information.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. I will make mention of the fact for the record, Commissioner Loper's not with us this evening due to illness. I think it's going around. Vera started it. She's passing it around, so I'm here despite it. All right. Next item, consideration to approve the minutes for the January 20th, 2015 Commissioners meeting. Any corrections or additions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as read. Second.
Motion and a second to approve as written. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. It should be noted that public comment should be limited to agenda items only, and the documents from this meeting are located in the clerk's office and on the Board of Commissioners website. Consent agenda. 2 items. First item, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by William Hopper III for a variance located at the corner of Central Avenue and 3rd Street, map number 330A, parcel number 27B and 28B. Item number 2, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by William Hopper III to rezone 0.88 acres located at the corner of Central Avenue and 3rd Street from AR1 to AR2, map number 330A, parcel number 27B and 28B. Motion.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as read. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. First item, new business. Consideration to approve contract addendums for Effingham State and Superior Courts and Springfield and Guyton Municipal Courts.
Yes, sir. The clerk has the
State your name.
Oh, excuse me. David Zittrow with the probation office. Excuse me.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. We just have an addendum to the contracts on how we handle indigent probationers that says we let them work it off at $7.25 an hour, which is minimum wage. And the SIMPAC suggested that we add that addendum to our contract that are already in place.
Any questions from the board? Motion.
Motion to approve alternative 1.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dan. Next item, consideration to approve to accept a quote and issue a purchase order for one ambulance remount to Reliance Emergency Specialties.
Good evening. Fiona Charlton, Purchasing Agent, and Gordon McDuffie, EMS Director. The county issued a request for quote for 2 ambulance remounts, which was posted on the usual websites, advertised in the local papers, and sent to known vendors. A mandatory pre-bid inspection and meeting was held, and bids were received from 4 of the 5 companies attending. The bid results are with your staff reports and show Reliant Emergency Specialties as the low bidder at $92,609 for a Ford remount and $92,620 for a Dodge remount. Based on references, experience and test drives of Reliance remounted Dodge chassis, staff believe they offer the best remount program, but in order to be prudent, as the county have not conducted business with them previously, staff would like approval to issue 1 purchase order for a Dodge remount at this time in the amount of $92,620, and based upon the finished product, issue a second and final purchase order with board approval at that time. As funding is approved in the short-term work program, staff recommend alternative 1. Any questions?
I got one.
Okay.
Am I reading this thing wrong? Still talking about Reliant, but there's a bid for $92,609 on a Ford 350 chassis. And this is $92,620 on a Dodge.
That's correct.
Why the,
Well, technically, Reliant claims that they can buy, because all they do is they do more business with Dodge. They have a better contract price buying Dodge chassis. So that's why the Dodge price was as close as it was to the Ford, even getting the fleet discount using Ford. And the guys went up. This is a new company. The only experience that they have is with Grady Ambulance Service. They remount all their ambulances, but this is their first step into the market of remounting for other agencies or other companies. So we sent the guys up. They went up, checked out their facility, rode around the trucks, looked at the quality work that was being done. And so we made a joint decision that we would allow 1 truck to be remounted instead of 2 at one time. Just send the first truck up, see what the quality work is, make sure that it is what we want. Because in the past we've had some issues with remounts that was not as quality as what we have liked. So since it's a new company, they just getting started, we thought we'd just try with 1 and make sure we get our bang for our buck.
I guess he was in, there's only $11 difference. Was there some reason you guys felt that the Dodge was superior, is that what you're saying?
Right, we chose the Dodge of the history of the Ford engine issues that we've had with the Ford, and we've had some issues here lately with the Chevrolet as well, so we're gonna step out and go with the Dodge and see.
so we've never run Dodge?
No, sir, we haven't. Other agencies have, and they've had good results with the Dodge.
Okay.
We got some very good references.
That was my question. I mean, for the 2 ambulance remounts, we're only talking about $22
Exactly.
more for the Dodge than for the Ford, but I'm just wondering why you chose the Dodge over.
I was skeptical of the Dodge, I'll be honest with you. Liberty County, that's what they use as Dodge. There's a couple other counties up further up north that uses Dodge, and when the guys went up and they actually toured the plant and they actually got to drive the Dodge ambulances, they were real impressed with it. The Cummins diesel, yeah, that has a lot to do with it.
Is that what it is? Is
It
Cummins
is, yes,
diesel
sir.
in it?
Yes, sir.
I take that too.
So,
Yeah, that's a good reference.
And fuel economy, you should get better economy out of that engine.
So you should do your homework. I'm glad you did it.
so,
And we'll come back to you before we issue the next purchase order for your approval to do that one.
I think what y'all are doing is a good idea. I was just wondering what your thought process was to get to that. When you mentioned the Cummins engine over the,
Yeah.
good choice.
Okay. Anything else?
Motion?
Make a motion that we approve staff recommendation on plan number 1.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Thank you.
No opposed. Let's give them that gives them an incentive to do the first one really good.
That's right.
They have the most famous ambulance in the world too, but we won't go into that.
All right, next is the consideration to approve to renew the inmate medical contract with Transform Health System for 1 year.
The county currently has a contract in place with Transform Health for inmate medical services, which runs from April the 1st, 2013 to March the 31st, 2015, after which it allows for 2 automatic annual renewals unless a written non-renewal notice is issued by either party. Staff leave at this time, while the needs of the county are being evaluated after the jail expansion, it will be beneficial to renew the current agreement for 1 year rather than bid the services out, which could involve committing to a new agreement of at least 2 years. The annual fee for 2015-16 will increase by 3%, going from $238,000 to $245,140, which is an increase of $7,140, approximately $1.53 per inmate per month. The renewal letter has been reviewed and approved by the county attorney, with a note that although the letter essentially extends the agreement for a further 5 years, the county can terminate it at any time at least 60 days prior to the end of each renewal term. Funding is approved in the current budget for fiscal year 15 and will be included for approval in the fiscal year 16 budget. Staff recommend alternative number 1. Any questions?
Is this the item that had some notes about we might want to try to talk to the attorney about some other concerns possibly?
It is.
On it. Okay, with that said, which I did not get to do, are we feeling comfortable in renewing this because we can terminate at any time within 60 days so that there is a further concern we can work towards information on that or what?
I think it can terminate at any time within 60 days of the renewal date, not at any time on 60 days notice.
Yeah.
If you want to hold the matter till after executive session.
Okay, 60 days of the renewal date. What is the renewal date? Remind me of that.
March the 31st, 2015.
It's yearly anyhow.
Right.
So the next
So in other words, you
one,
opt
March.
out once a year.
Yeah.
But
60 days prior and 60 days after? If we, in other words, we've got to renew it right now, it's 60 days from March 31st, so we still have
I
till
think it's 60 days.
60 days prior.
prior. Okay.
I would prefer to rewrite it and issue the contract with us being able to terminate with 30 days or 60 days notice.
Period.
Period. No more than 60 days notice.
I like that.
For several reasons. I mean, we don't know what the history of the prison may be or whatever, so I would hate to have a contract in place for a year from March.
Well, that is why I asked that question up front, and that takes care of that, because if we were to vote to renew it tonight, and we studied some information that made us feel uncomfortable about that, we could change it at any time, so that kind of takes care of that.
So my recommendation would be that if they will allow us to rewrite the contract with us being able to give them 30 days notice to terminate, I would be good with it.
30 days.
I would prefer it. I always like shorter.
I'll take that to them and I'll bring it back
And
to you.
then
at
if
the
they
next
come
meeting.
back and say, well, we'll do it, but we want 60 days, bring it back to us, we've got the time.
Okay.
You got a copy of this? You have a copy of this? The agreement, the contract.
It says 60 days at any time, with or without.
I thought it was 60 days.
I think the letter states 60 days, the new letter.
Page 6, midway down.
If there's a discrepancy between the letter and the contract's going to stand, but we can certainly reiterate that we want to be sure that clause is in it.
Or is this the original? Is this a 2-year also?
Well, my recommendation
It
is
does
to the
say-
board. I would ask the board to approve the new contract with a 30-day out clause.
I'm looking at,
Are you comfortable with that, Eric?
yes.
Okay.
What I see in here says, the agreement to be for a term of 2 years, subject to earlier termination in accordance with this agreement, unless either the county or Transform Health gives written notice of non-renewal at least 60 calendar days prior to the end of the initial term or of any renewal term, the agreement shall be automatically renewed. So I read that as a one-time per year opportunity.
I'll make my motion where it
Read
is.
6.02.
So,
Well, yeah.
There may be two different
It's got two
discrepancies.
different clauses in there. I think I'd like to take out 6.01.
I'll make a motion clear of it. Unless there's some other position that member wants to speak.
Well, for the other reasons, or for whatever reasons that exist, I'd like to have a 30-day out clause and for our staff, our attorney to remove any conflicts to that effect.
You could keep the first sentence of 6.01, couldn't you?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract and change any wordage in the new contract to state that we can have a 30-day out clause, 30-day notice period at any time within the contract.
Have a motion on the floor. That's it. No further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
So work with our attorney and those folks and see if we can get that. Then I'll sign.
And I'll just state if there's any qualms about that maybe we need to terminate it from staff or attorney, then please bring that to our attention so that we can deal with it if that becomes the case.
Very good. Well, Ms. Fiona, you're going to spend another time with us. Consideration to issue a letter of non-renewal of agreement to UniFirst for public works uniforms.
The county currently has a uniform service agreement in place with UniFirst for public works uniforms. The agreement runs 60 months from July 2010 to July 2015, after which it will automatically renew for 60 months unless 90 days written notice is given. UniFirst provides rental and laundering of uniforms, but staff have researched the cost of uniforms and believe a savings can be made by purchasing them outright and having employees launder them rather than have a service do it. The county attorney has reviewed and approved the non-renewal agreement letter, and as funding is approved in the current budget for fiscal year 15 and will be included for approval in fiscal year 16, so I recommend alternative number 1.
Well, personally, I have the same problem with this. It looks like from your write-up, if I read this thing correctly, we're locked into this thing for 60 months if we don't give them 90 days written notice. So it's a 5-year contract.
Yes, sir.
I don't like it.
We don't want to renew, we'd rather purchase.
You're voting to terminate.
Yeah, we're going to terminate
I know,
completely.
but I'm telling you, that's one reason I would want to terminate it.
We don't do contracts for that length of time anymore.
Well, one thing that we could consider, Karen, that would be a good idea is to just put that standard in any and all contracts unless there is a serious applicable reason not to.
That's where I was
30
headed.
days.
Is that the board of commissioners wants to have all the contracts 30-day out. You know, take care of that.
And I think in anything that we bid, any service or whatever, that should be our standard operating procedure.
Could cost you money outright, and something that cost, will be too costly for them.
If there's a reason, we just need to be able to consider it.
That's
Yeah.
right. So, for the purpose of this one, we want to terminate, so we just doing that within our 90 days notice. Motion?
Make a motion to approve alternative number 1.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Any opposed? So terminated.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next, consideration to approve the memorandum of understanding for the critical workforce shelter initiative. Mr. Meyer.
Good evening, Chairman.
Good evening.
Edwin Meyer, Emergency Management Director. The Critical Workforce Shelter Initiative was brought forward for a couple of reasons. If I could go back into our history. 1999 Hurricane Floyd was $7 billion in damage, and it caused the evacuation of the citizens of Effingham County. Imagine a first responder's family, husband and wife, that are first responders and work for Effingham County. They have one child. They have an obligation due to their oath to stay here in Effingham County and serve the citizens. Therefore, they usually have to ship their children off to family relatives elsewhere in the state, such as Macon or Augusta or whatever. That was the case in 1999, and it's something that I would prefer not to happen again. The other reason is our warming shelters that we have. We are bouncing around from different buildings in the county depending on their availability. This would provide one central location that is permanent. Therefore, the citizens that actually need the warming shelter don't have the communication means. It takes time for me to get information pushed down to them. So if I could have one spot that was constant, they would know if the temperature hit 30 degrees, this particular building would be open for that purpose. So we reached out to the United Methodist Campground and came up with an agreement with them for this memorandum of understanding. So I'll place that in front of you for consideration.
This is using just the youth building in the back.
Near the cemetery.
That's correct. Used building and the kitchen if we needed it. And the generator that we have, the portable 45 kW, will power this building as well.
And by their signature, the campground's already approved it. So
That is correct.
I think it's commendable of them to offer their facility.
Yes, sir.
Motion?
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
I'll second.
And a second. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to approve a bid and accept a contract for site work. Courthouse Road, Fire Station driveway. Let's go back.
Yes, sir. The county has a fire station at 2750 Courthouse Road. The station when it was constructed, did not have a driveway. It has eroded up or under the foundation, as well as create soupy condition in inclement weather. It is included in the short-term work program that was just recently approved in January 2015. Plans and specifications were created in-house and publicly bid and advertised. J.L. Harden Inc. was the low bidder at $20,375. This is a standard form contract. There's a copy of the plan, the bid tab there as well, and the work would be completed and not paid for until it was complete.
I was able to verify, under funding, it said $20,375. I did call and verify it was in the short-term work program. Maybe I could be able to easily know that, but I verified that, and then therefore it will be paid for by SPOS, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I would like to ask that on future staff reports that information is included, like always, like when it shows funding, it's a good idea to write so that we know if it's coming from short-term work and SPOS, or if it's coming from general funds, or if it's in, because a lot of times they'll say it's budgeted, but in here I couldn't tell if it was budgeted or not budgeted, or how were we paying for it, so.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm gonna miss it.
Any other questions, discussion? Motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve staff recommendation alternative number 1, approve the funding.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
No.
Any opposed? So carried. Next item, discussion on lots served by access easement. Without exception, if the board will allow me to, can we skip this discussion and go to item number 8? Any problems with that?
Skip or delay? Or
Let's just delay 7 and get 8 and 9 out the way. Because there's others this discussion.
Is there any bookkeeping way in which we have to handle that?
I think you can take that out of order anytime.
Okay.
Done with that.
All right, so let's just leave 7 on the table for a minute and go to number 8. Consideration to approve payment for permits issued to date for Blandford Crossing. And the reason for that is Mr. Kicklighter is here to present this. Without exception from him, it's being asked that this board table this to the second meeting in April. And if that's okay with the board, and Mr. Kicklighter does agree with that.
I represent Mr. Plank, and we are in agreement with that.
So our second meeting in April would be, we're not having the first one except if it's a call meeting. What would be that day?
That technically makes it the first meeting in April then.
Yeah.
What's the date?
It's the 21st.
20 what?
First.
21st. So I'd like a motion that we table that item until April 21st.
It is our understanding that all parties involved that feel they might have a claim is in favor of this, is that correct?
One of the other parties called and asked if there was some way that we could delay this.
Okay.
Didn't.
Just want to verify that.
Yeah,
You should be sorry.
yes. He's saying okay.
For the record, Wilson Burns is in the audience, and he's with Greenland Developers, which would be a party to this discussion, and they are in agreement.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we table this issue until the April 21st county commission meeting.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? So tabled. All right, item number 9, which was added to our agenda. Mr. Kicklighter is in the audience to represent this item as well. In your packets, you should have all the information. Basically, to sum up, if I may, before you get started, this is something the board has done previously. It's money that exists within the law library. We have a resolution that has been presented by the parties to the law library, including a state court judge, 2 superior court judges, and treasurer of the law library, asking these funds actually were to be given to state court, and the state court judge has signed off on it saying he wants the drug court to get his money. So,
well, technically what happens is the law library is giving the county funds for the county to use for the courthouse, certain expenditures for the courthouse.
correct.
In return, the drug court and the state court DUI program had asked for similar funds to be spent on those programs because those programs are very cost beneficial to the county. I think it was in October of 2013 we appeared before the law library fund had declared they had $100,000 in excess to donate to the county for expenditures on the funds allowed for under the statute, which are for the courthouse. And in conjunction with that, asked the county to approve similar funds to go to $50,000 to the drug court and $50,000 to the state court DUI program. Shortly thereafter, in fact, I think maybe the day after, a couple of days after, the original $50,000 from the law library fund was given to the county. The county did give $50,000 to the drug court. The second $50,000 was never delivered, and the state court never made their request. The drug court came into a situation where it needed some funds. Judge Thompson was approached about whether the state court was needful of their DUI funding from the county. They were not. They're receiving the DARE funds, and that's how they're funding their DUI program. Judge Thompson had no problems with the drug court getting that funding. The law library has no problems donating another $50,000 to the county to be used for the appropriate issues under the statute, and therefore we would ask when that's done for another $50,000 to come to the drug court.
Okay, I have one question for clarification purposes, because I remember about the 100,000, and if I understand correctly, we did pay the 50, and then there was a balance where we had an intention of coming back with the 50. But at one time, we went ahead and like fronted a 10.
No.
It came from different funds.
No, there was actually $95,000 that the county originally funded to the drug court. I think 95-ish. Don't hold me exactly to that number.
Let me make my question easy. Is it really 50 that we need to try to approve today? I just want to verify that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the staff agrees with that?
Yes.
Okay.
We did do another 10, and that was an emergency that was moved from date funds, if I'm correct in this.
That's correct.
Right.
Okay.
And then on another occasion, we became the fiduciary or whatever for the grant money and fronted the money because it's a reimbursement grant. And we became the payer. We paid the bills
Was that
and
the
then we got our
95?
money
Was
back
that
to
the
the
original?
grant.
Okay,
So-
4 to
so-
10,000.
Yeah, so we've gotten involved in several different ways. But right now, the drug court is not part of our budget.
That's correct.
So this is just simply with the blessings of all the courts and all the parties to these funds that we go ahead and give y'all this money, and it's coming from supplies and items that we can legally pay for out of law library funds.
And I want to ask a question and say it like this too as well, because I did a little bit of research on this. Because for whatever part that we can play a role in trying to be sure that we're helping with the benefit that's provided to the citizens, and I did call and talk to Sheriff McDuffie today that told me when it first started he was a little questionable, but he's become sold on it because he believes that it has actually benefited several people and kept them out of his system and our system, which actually probably in the long run costs more money than even this is costing, even though it's not costing us because it's just a pass-through. But with all that said, in the past, I believe there were some grants received so that it did not have to pass through us. And I believe that's something, if it's not necessary to have to do, that we would like to see it go back to that. And I wanted to verify that is the goal.
I've been asked that already today. Yes, ma'am, that is the goal. Historically, one of the members of our team, the drug court team, has not been crazy about the grant process. When we ran into this crisis and we had to come back to y'all for the money, I specifically asked him, quite frankly, that there was no need to get this money if we weren't going to get into the grant process, because 6 months, 8 months, maybe even a year, we'll be right back here in this same position. He did authorize us to begin applying for the grants. Our treatment provider supervisor is a gentleman named Heath Browning, who is connected to, although not directly employed by Willing Way Hospital in Statesboro. Heath has already hired a grant writer. His first name is John. I've met him. I don't remember his last name, but that process has already begun. I got an email last week from the National Association of Drug Courts that SAMHSA, which is one of the big federal grant providers, has just opened some new grants, and I forwarded that to Heath.
You're working on it.
Yes, ma'am. Also, I've been asked by our judge to go speak to the judge in the Atlantic Circuit who's running their drug court, because they have been very successful in obtaining the state grants, and we'll put John in touch with them. This is a high priority on the governor's list, the drug courts are, because of the savings they cause in the criminal justice system. And I think they allocated, don't hold me exactly to this, but 11, 12 million for drug courts. So there are state funds as well as federal funds
So we
to
should
be
be able
received.
to get some of it.
Yes, sir. Now that we have approval to actually apply for the grants, that process has actually already started.
Well, I may mention to you because I don't know how much the public or yourself think the way that I do, but I certainly ask the finance director, you know, when we're contemplating this, and sometimes if there's a little bit of hesitancy about us doing certain things, I'm like, what's the problem anyway? Because if are we gonna get a check written for 50 to us and then we're gonna write a check to 50 out? And her response is, no, we get the money coming in, but the way that we have to account for it going out, it may be 100 transactions that she has to log of expenses through different departments. And so something that we have to take into consideration is, what is that taking our finance department's time? And all these little different things that we have. So I just want you to know, like.
I did not know that, but we'll send her a cake.
Yeah. I don't know if that's what she wants, but.
Well, if she doesn't want it, I'm sure it'll be taken care of.
And then the last thing is, there were some things mentioned about, is the contracts, anything to do with contracts settled, like any wordage, is there a wordage problem to remain or not?
No, the resolution that first came to us was one that was rejected last year.
Yeah, we changed
it.
it.
In error, and it got in our office.
That's my fault.
Last minute, and we didn't,
Okay.
all we could do was say, this is wrong.
And that's my fault, because I knew it was wrong when I sent it, because I knew it was the one that was rejected, but I didn't have a copy of the one we corrected. And in fact, I don't even know that one ever got signed last time. But I knew the language was wrong, and I let Toss know it was wrong, but when I emailed it to Eric, I didn't let him know. I already knew it was wrong, and so that's what happened there. We knew that, we didn't let Eric know that.
Okay.
As long as that was showing what you have in front of you.
That's what I was going to say.
Well,
Joanna,
bottom line
you
is,
want to talk about the itemized, that I see.
Yeah, if I may, just a second, there's two things that we're gonna need, in my estimation as staff. One is, the wording of this basically says, with the discretion of the Board of Trustees, payment of purchases made by the county Superior Court, State Court, Magistrate Court, Juvenile Court, for the purchase or leasing of computer-related legal research equipment and programs. What we have to do then is substantiate what those purchases are. And I don't think there's been a mechanism that necessarily goes back and says, yes, y'all have approved these purchases that we made for that $50,000. So we need some mechanism either from y'all or from the board which says, yes, you know, y'all have reviewed these purchases and it's in accordance with the guidance of the state law that we purchased these. That's number one. Number two, when we do this in motion, the other thing...
Excuse me, I want to understand. Are you saying at the time that they make the purchase, that, say, whichever entity, if it's the state court or whoever it is, that when they send the bill over for you to approve, that they also send like a little statement that says, this
is applicable to the 50,000. We need something that...
We can make a blanket form
That's
that they sign.
From the law library trustees.
I'm sorry?
We need something from the law library trustees.
We can make a blanket form that covers us and give that to the various people, is that correct?
My recollection was last time we actually made a list
We did.
of the equipment that was,
Providing a list is not what she's worried about an audit. And so she's worried about having the documentation on our side to prove that we verified the validity of it.
yeah, I think we went through that exercise last time, didn't we?
We gave y'all a list, but there was nothing that ever came back from y'all
Okay.
that said, yes, these
You need
are...
something signed.
I can handle that for you.
When she says y'all, I think you're talking about.
She's talking about the law library
Correct.
committee,
Yeah.
That's correct.
which I'm actually not on anymore, but I know who to get it to.
And the second piece is I'm assuming anyway that, and they're providing the 50,000 to our general fund, we will then need to make a budget amendment to expend these funds
Correct.
back to the drug court. So we need two things, at least in the motion tonight, which is a budget amendment, because I'm assuming you need those funds back fairly quickly.
Correct.
You would like us in the same motion to give approval for a budget amendment in the same amount?
That's
Probably need to do it in 2
We
months.
can't do alternative one, clear that, the way that's worded,
You think 1 or 2 years?
specifically not.
Doesn't matter. Okay.
I understand.
You see alternative one?
The board may elect to accept these funds, which we use solely for the Effingham County drug court.
No, can't use that one.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
The funds have to be used for the expenditures on the courthouse.
It's just the way that's worded.
Well, let's clarify that
Give me
more.
more quickly.
Not on the courthouse, it must be used for Superior Court, State Court, Probate Court, Magistrate Court, or Juvenile Court, and for the purchase of.
That should be on our alternative number, that should be our alternative number one. But
Yes, ma'am.
can you just provide me a copy of that so I can read it?
Yes, ma'am.
It should be on the resolution that you have.
So you're wasting time.
Second to the last, we were at, one second.
As always, Joanna is correct.
And I know that
Okay,
you're
maybe
on a
not.
short time about doing this. Okay, alternative number one, with what you've got under one, basically.
That's correct.
Correct. Okay, and is it appropriate, in everybody's understanding, attorneys and chairman and other commissioners, that we can make like a second dairy for the budget amendment and within the same?
I'm fine with it. I don't think you can do it that way where you can add it as a second.
All in one, that's fine.
All right, let's make it simple. Does anybody else?
Everybody happy?
A budget amendment and approval of disbursement.
Can I say something wrong? Yeah. Okay, ready?
Have at it.
Make a motion that we elect to approve funding, the $50,000 funding, and that the funding can be used solely for the purposes of the discretion of, is the board of trustees in there? That's underlined.
With the county,
County Superior Court, County State Court, Probate Court, Magistrate Court, Juvenile Court, and for the purchase or leasing of computer-related legal research equipment and programs. And when the invoices are sent to finance, a form will be signed stating it is in coordination with that. And number two, that we approve a budget amendment for the $50,000 for the approval of money and as well as disbursement
For the drug court
for the drug court
funding.
funding.
Good?
I think that covers it.
You good?
Yes, sir.
Hard to make it happen.
Need a second? Motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Becky,
Sir,
you got your money.
thank you.
Go find a way, because I am not against the drug court. I don't care how many people call me and tell me I'm against the drug court.
We will get some grants. We're on that mission.
Because this is the third time I know since I've been in office that this has become an emergency. We
Yes,
need
sir.
planning.
And that's our committee's responsibility for getting to y'all so late. We do accept that responsibility. Thank you for your consideration and apologize for the chaos we caused.
Appreciate everything.
Thank you.
All right, thank y'all. Item number 7, we'll go back to our discussion on lot served by an access easement. And this is for discussion. Mr. Toss, who's leading this discussion?
I think from time to time, we have people that come in requesting variances to subdivide, lots off of an easement, basically. And over our history, that's ranged from different numbers and different ways that's been done. Our current ordinance allows up to 3 lots on an unapproved, 60-foot lot unapproved access easement. I think in the past, there have been minor subdivisions where up to 10 lots, and I believe that was probably allowed to some degree. So there's been varying ways that this has happened. Many farm subdivisions were done in the past while technically there weren't easements, they were unimproved, dirt road type accesses to properties in an easement, all of which have been discontinued and changed over time for various reasons, but it continues to be a real issue that we deal with. So in an effort to try to figure out another way to go with this particular issue, to see if there's some other way to alter our ordinance, to do something different that will allow access or property to be subdivided without a road meeting current standards, meaning 22-foot wide pavement shoulders and so forth. But yet still, that won't get us back into some of the situations we faced in the past. So I guess that's really what the discussion here is for tonight. George has done some research on this today. I apologize, this kind of came up late last week, and we were out of town the first one last week, and we didn't, staff didn't get here as much time to research this as what we would like to, but we have done some in the neighboring jurisdictions, and I'll let George tell you what he found and we'll discuss it from there.
I did look at 5 other counties in the region, and their ordinances were similar to ours. They varied number of lots varied from 3 to 5. Generally, they required a 60-foot easement. Some of them added a width of a roadbed. Some of them required a separate maintenance agreement that stating the county is not responsible. Some of them required a maximum length of the easement. So there were some minor variations on what we have, but basically all similar to what we have. Basically limiting the number of lots you can have off of an easement. Probably for the same reasons that we have, is eventually maintenance becomes an issue and the county starts getting costs.
Do those ordinances, do they specify the amount or the number of parcels on the easements also, or?
Yeah, between 3 and 5 is what I saw, yeah.
Did it matter how large the acreage was, how large a tract of land was being served by this?
I saw one that had acreage sizes, and I think they had they were all 10-acre parcels. They could go more, and I don't remember the exact number. I apologize.
Do you want to, this is for discussion tonight, but maybe you want to pull a couple of those, and just as example, 3 to 5, ours is 3, is that right?
Ours is 3.
And then some of them may have had acreage examples. You want to pull those and maybe highlight those types of scenarios to us and send them to us?
Certainly can.
Let us mull those thoughts over. I think that's all I need.
Yeah, I think we all recognize the reason for subdividing property on an easement, without the infrastructure of a paved road. I think the opposite side of that, the problems from my history here, which is not nearly as extensive as some, I think some of the easements that we've came is what George said is one is just maintenance of the easement. Over a period of time, easements aren't maintained, or the person that was maintaining it then moves off, and there's those problems. And ultimately there becomes a petition and people standing up here in front of you saying, we got a problem. And in fact, we've got one brewing now that we were talking about earlier today that someone's called with a very similar issue.
But in truth, does that not become a private property problem?
It is a private property problem. We just hear about it a lot.
It is.
Whether you want to say we can ignore that, I mean, that's what we do now. They call, we say we can't do anything about it, solve it yourself.
What was happening in the past, though, was that people, they get to a point where they want the county to take it over as a road.
I understand.
And I will say that the nice thing about the 60-foot easement requirement, regardless of whether it's 3 lots or 5 lots, is that if at some point the county decides they do want to make it a road, at least at 60 feet, you have enough property there to do it. Whereas, before in the past, we might have 20-foot easements or 30-foot easements, 10, 15, 20 houses. Very hard to get a road in there in those circumstances, depending on what's been built out there.
And let's face it, times change. The good intentions of this one here wanting their family to have this piece of property, and it winds up there, families change, people finance things, people lose things to banks, banks sell the property, people change. You've just got to look ahead and try to guess at how to keep these things from happening. And I think probably the best we can do is the best we can do. We're still going to have problems.
Each will present its own.
Each presents its own set of circumstances. Is the reason that we have variances to our ordinance, correct? The problem is then when you have people that disagree with the other side of the variance, and you try to do what's right and keep everybody happy. And sometimes that's a difficult situation. But, whether it's 3 lots or whether it's 5, I know in one place here it said, well, are limited to how many acres. Well, you could simply have 3 10-acre tracts if you limit it to 10 acres and still have it at 3. And somebody's still going to come at him and say, well, I've got 10 acres. I want to be able to cut it in half and give 5. Well, many farms used to be 5, and we got, I don't know the answer. And I guess that's why we're discussing it, to try and come up with an answer. But
well, I think the key is trying to define what's the problem. What kind of problem does it create? If you can define the problem, then you try to fix it. But is it truly a problem? The 4 years I've been on, I think we've had one group of property owners come from County Ebenezer.
Yes, an example. You're saying if you have an over
It was a private road.
we're trying to sit there figuring out
We
what
told them that, and it was what it was.
is restrictive or not.
Yeah. One other issue I have is requiring an improved road, paved shoulders that's connected to a county road that isn't even up to that standard. Yeah, I just have an issue with that, forcing that.
Like I said, I think we'd have to deal with each one as they come before us and decide at that point whether to grant variance or not.
But in that regard, you can simply say, well, the intent of the county is when funding becomes available to improve the county road, so we don't want to create another one that's substandard. But then again, I have a problem with somebody owning 100 acres of land or 50 or whatever it is, and the back of an easement, and there's happens to already be 2 others, and telling them that they can't give an acre or 2 acres of their own land to their child to build a house. Whereas under ordinance, the family that owns the land could go and build a second house on their own land. And it would be perfectly within our ordinance. And it's the same difference. And then down the road, that piece of property could fall out of a family, a bank could repossess it, it wind up getting sold, and then you've got 2 different tracts. And then by default, it became 4 tracts instead of 3. It could happen.
Could that happen? It could be, it's got to come before our board to be something.
Well, we've had banks that finance subdivisions that decided amongst themselves that they were going to cut it up into 2 tracts of land.
Well, I think the probate judge may be able to subdivide property as well. Multiple family members.
You sure? I thought they still have to come because we've had trustees come before us.
Yeah, well, we try to get them to do it, but I'm not sure technically they have to do that. We've gotten them to work with the county pretty well.
So if we were to go up and say, okay, so let's change it from 3 to 5 on a 60-foot easement, and then somebody comes up and says, well, there's only a 40-foot easement there. There's not 60-foot. Should we make them go to the other people's property and say, well, if you come back and get a 60 feet, then we'll let you?
But we can still ground variance it.
At that point in time. And I do think if it does seem feasible or reasonable to us to maybe possibly change it from 3 to 5, then there may be a number of parcels and people that you satisfy in the middle that wouldn't have an issue, that do have an issue, because they found 5 reasonable and it would work for their scenario. So it would be that much more helpful to alleviate the stress of the burden of the situation.
You want to restrict that to family?
I said a lot of words to say that, but could be beneficial.
Well, here again, what's family today?
That's true.
Not be
That's
family
true.
10 years from now.
Or tomorrow.
Yep.
But that would be on a 60-foot easement, right? 3 to 5.
I'm just, I mean, we can do it any which way, but off the top of my head, I would think that changing it from 3 to 5 could be a reasonable benefit, not a foolproof solution for every single body out there, but it could help us eliminate a certain percentage.
Well, since this is for discussion, and that's what we're doing, is
Yes.
discussing, I like Commissioner Jones's suggestion. Give us what our neighboring counties are doing. Let us look at it. At this point, if somebody falls outside of our ordinance, the power of this commission is to grant a variance from that ordinance. But if we can see something long-term that looks like we need to move on, we can take that action.
And most of the ones I'm aware of that have been problems in the sense that they've complained about maintenance issues are actually more than even 5 lots. So the few that I can think of from the top of my head are
As far as the width, because I've heard 60, so if the county ever put a road in, then I've heard, well, they have to have 60 for the emergency personnel, or, there's so many reasons why it's 60.
But there's many places in the county where we don't have 60 and emergency personnel has to get in there all the time.
Yeah, I think 60 was just to allow the road. I mean, our road width is 22 to meet county standards. So
We may
that's
have
drainage and all. So could it be done in less? Yeah, in a lot of circumstances it could, just depending on topography and
And we
what
may need to look
happens.
at that portion of it because that's a portion that creates a lot of concern for a lot of people.
The width, the 60?
Yes.
Yeah.
Making that 60-foot requirement and all the costs that would go into that, that's a big part of the whole argument.
And if it's not a county road, but we require a 60-foot easement, 10 years down the road, it's a little more justification to say, oh, I'm ready for you to pay my road now. I made this 60 foot, so y'all do it one day.
I'm in favor for private property to remain private property as much as possible. I don't know at any point in purpose why we want to have it become a county obligation for taxpayers unnecessarily. So I think we probably should look at that part of it.
I mean, you could allow unlimited if you wished on private roads. That's certainly.
Well, just saying, I don't know if we need to say, hey, it's gotta become a 60 foot so that the county could take it over. I don't know, that should be our goal. It's just a thought.
We suggest one other
Historically,
factor, which is emergency vehicle access may be one other factor.
But it was just, does an emergency vehicle need 60 foot, is that what you're saying? And all
I'm
those-
saying the more lots you have on a private easement, the more potential there is for an easement to fall into disrepair. And
I understand. I think we all do. I think we just need to look at all the different scenarios and possibilities and try to see if we can tweak it and improve it.
This is discussion. Anybody else got anything to discuss with it? We'll get us that information and provide it to us, and we'll send it forward. All right, it's the last item on our agenda. Time is 6 o'clock. So I've said this before, the rest is kind of left up on our staff.
Within an hour and a half. You'll be there first. You have your committee reports listed in front of you, a few changes, a few additions I have. There's an annual fire report. Instead of your monthly fire report, you now have a whole year in summary here. This is a much more comprehensive, much more in-depth report that Clint's put together, which has a lot of good information in it, so I encourage y'all to read that. There's also 2 reports from 911 in there that are call volumes based on each agency. So there's total call volume. It's also broken up on where the traffic comes from, whether it's Rankin PD, Springfield PD, Fire Department, EMS. And you have one for the entirety of 2014, and then there's one for this January 15. So Jay's updated this as the year goes. The 2015 annual conference for ACCG is coming up April 17th and 20th. It's like always at Savannah National Convention Center. The Lifelong Learning Academy is Friday and Monday, 17th and 20th. You have that information there, so there's a list of the classes. I don't know if registration is even open yet. The email said that it will be opening soon, so
Yeah, we haven't gotten it yet.
I don't think it's actually open to register, but all the prices and so forth and the classes are in there. So this is the point at which all of y'all give all those information to the clerk.
And you guys are all planning to attend since it's a win? Yes? No? Me?
Y'all can
You are?
Where we should,
Yeah, I've still got to look at my classes and see.
The ACCG training that's in Savannah.
You all got your
It's a good opportunity to get some of your hours in without having to travel and pay hotel rooms.
what day of the week is that?
It's a Friday through Monday.
Friday and
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Ross King did tell us in Atlanta they were changing the days a little different. Did y'all hear that?
Yeah. Yeah.
He did. They changed the schedule.
Moving to
How it always
a-
done.
Yeah, and it says that in there. It tells you what they changed. There's like 3 or 4 bulleted things on page 1 or 2. On 1, what's new in 2015?
Yeah.
It's got
Okay.
what changed right there. And again, like your classes are Friday and Monday, and Saturday and Sunday is the vendor things and all the other stuff that goes along with it. So anyhow, y'all just get with the clerk on that one. IDA board forms, I left it on there, y'all are aware that we need that, just a reminder that, we need to get that on the agenda coming up. City of Springfield, Effingham County Hospital Authority requested annex 3, to rezone 3.67 acres, 703 First Street. We just got a notification on it. You've all been copied on that. The planning board on February 4th and city council on February 10th. Both are at 6 at City Hall. On your list, you've got Effingham Parkway PIOH Public Information Open House on March the 10th. That's been rescheduled from the time I put this on here. LN sent the stuff to GDOT. Apparently, we are responsible for hosting this and not the Department of Transportation. So he has to go back in and redo all the advertisements and say we're doing it, which means we're responsible for getting the court recorder here, purchasing the signs. There's a 3 to 5 sign that goes up, says we're having them. They have to be up 2 weeks prior to the meeting. So because of that, they've had to move the date back a little bit. and it now looks like we're gonna try to do it on the 17th. I gotta verify the availability of the room, which is St. Patrick's Day, so we're green. But, I'll be back in touch with y'all on that, but we had it set for the 10th, but it's gonna move, because we're doing it. Now, this is the first public information.
That's a commission meeting day.
Is it a board meeting day? So that's probably not gonna work, because it's 4 to 6, so. Unless y'all care to attend, then I can slip out, I like this. But we'll get back to y'all today, when we finalize the date. But it was 4 to 6, I'm sure the times will make the same, 4 to 6 or whatever day we hear this building. As soon as we get that set up, we'll let y'all know. And this is for the environmental document, so OES actually handles this one. Road resurfacing list, give y'all that list back again. Still looking for input on that. 3 things I'll point out, or 2 things I'll point out. One, the previous list forgot to include Caribbean Village Drive, which is one that the board agreed to do when we took the infrastructure within Caribbean Village Parkway, Park West, 1 through 3 also. That was the money that will be coming across in April, $100,000. So we need that one on the list. It's pretty much a net though, so it doesn't really affect the bottom dollar pricing. Long Bridge, Wiley, and High Bluff are all roads that y'all approved on your LD list. So if you do not approve to do those roads, we'll have to go back and redo LD. To be honest with you, I don't know what that process is. So hopefully y'all will see fit to put those on the list. And again, we're just looking for that prioritization so we can get that advertised and move forward.
What is, give us some direction. What day? So we just, each one of them need to give us our opinion.
That's fine. However y'all want to do it, we're going to pull it out tonight. Again, there really are, every road on it needs to be done. I don't know that I can really say that A is worse than B, that they all equally need to be done. So however y'all want to do it. You get the best pricing by grouping them together, but that doesn't help. You may want to spread it out some. So we'll do.
In the past, you kind of helped give us some recommendations about if you did put certain ones together, how we could make that most cost effective.
Which is why Long Bridge, Wiley, and High Bluff are all suggested y'all for LMIG because they all physically touch one another. High Bluff and Wiley is the same road, and they all touch Long Bridge. And I just threw enough together to get the dollars to match the LMIG dollars. There was roughly 900 some odd thousand between those 3. So plus the other 100, we got about $1 million in there. It was about 2.5. So it's about $1.5 million worth of roads I'm looking for if y'all hold those 4.
Well, Honey Ridge is a priority for us, maybe.
What?
Honey Ridge, because of safety factor.
I know it's the Honey Ridge been mentioned and Goshen.
Jacobs, Jones.
Honey Ridge.
Is it cost?
It is, and I didn't print it, so I'm trying to find it real quick. But the list y'all have has a cost off to the far right, should be total cost, or maybe one's cost per mile, and one's total cost.
Okay, total cost would be what I want.
Honey Ridge is 460.
So if it's 460, that's about half of it. I need to.
What's J Bell's?
About 30.
Is Goshen even on it?
Goshen's not.
I said, what's J Bell?
214.
And how much do we have now for the funding?
About 2.5, roughly 2.5 million.
But with about 1.5 left after what you already got planned?
Correct. If you take Wiley, High Bluff, and others, 9 something, and then the 120 for the others, so it's about $1 million between those 4. So it's about $1.5 million.
So the 2.5 million included the LD fund.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Includes the 100,000 from.
Yes, sir.
I say part of our,
It's 2.4 before.
I say part of our decision making be put on safety where we're having those problems and then also traffic. Where the most citizens being affected traffic wise. I think that's the most important factor to
on
decide.
these roads if y'all like. I'll get with Public Works and stretch the counters out if that's what y'all want. We can certainly do that.
Unless we have a different.
All right.
The other notification corrective action plan, we've just received notification that the fast stop number 63, which is located at 3049 US Highway 80 in Faultville, is had to prepare a corrective action plan for EPD. Again, it's by a plethora of things, leaking underground storage tanks to some degree. That plan is anticipated to be submitted by February 17th. was prepared by Terracon. You can get a copy of it for the low price of $85, or if you go to Springfield Library, you can do it for free should you choose to see it. And the USD management program is accepting comments until March 17th. So again, just letting y'all know that we received that notification. Two things that are another one that came in after this list was put together. Mr. Henry just sent an email a little earlier about apparently Effingham County is going to be featured in Georgia Trend magazine again. So Ms. Karen Rosen, who I only assume is a reporter or something for that particular publication, will be at the Chamber Building Monday, February 23rd at 1. If any of y'all would like to speak with her and tell her all the great, wonderful things that Effingham County has to offer.
What's that date?
February 23rd at 1 a.m. And you probably don't have that information. I put the email in the report, but it was after Stephanie got to print all this. It just came in this afternoon, so I can forward all that to y'all. You forward to Stephanie, she'll get it out there. And when I forward email, her numbers in it also, if you'd like to give her a call. Then the last thing that I have, I updated y'all previously, haven't done so in a while, about our external GIS website, which is currently hosted by Binary Buzz. Binary Buzz, as you may recall, decided to pursue other ventures in their life and no longer supporting that particular service. They've recently called and said, when can you be off? The reason I dropped all this tonight, I was going to try to show you RC, who I assume all y'all know in our GIS department, has utilizing. You also know we have an ELA with Ezra, which gives us access to a lot of tools and different things. So he's in utilization ArcGIS Online. He has created an external website, which in my opinion, I believe is better than the Binary Bus one that we were currently using. And it does a lot of good things. We update the data, so if there's any layers that anybody sees or wants to add, we can add them in ourselves. So if there's something that the board sees, and I was going to show it to y'all and let you see some of those layers, I can, in the same email to Ms. Stephanie, I'll forward y'all a link. So very soon we're going to be transitioning over from Binary Bus to the one that we created. Esri's hosting for us for RGS Online. Right now it works off of credits. We get 30,000 credits with our ELA through all the testing period and through all the uploading of the data. We use a couple hundred. So we don't believe that we'll ever exceed that amount. So as long as we don't, it's in effect free to us. It's included with what the board already pays, which will also save us, I believe, around $5,000 a year is what we were paying Binary Bus, maybe a little more. So it's actually a net savings to us. And in the process of doing that, they've also created, it's now embedded on our Effingham County website under GIS with all our county recreation facilities and county offices, our county buildings are included on there. And it's a kind of neat little app that you can go in and click on. They're all tagged where all that through the county. If you click on what it comes up, shows you a picture and description and so forth. And again, I was going to show you that for some reason our main projector is down and it connects everything downstream, so I can't. So, but we can get y'all some links for that. So you can see the new website. If you have any comments on it, we can always update or change anything that you see is on there. But I believe it has more functionality than Binary Bus did. And that's
Anybody else use it around any other counties? Or
use
the
RGS Online?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that. Sages is doing something a little bit differently with their host.
I had to do that one today.
And it may be that, but Binary Bus quit the whole service, so anybody that was on them has to find another solution. We looked around, there were other paid solutions, but ultimately, again, our GS department just, they put one together, they put the work in, and it's come a long way. It was initially a little bit slow with some of the bigger layers, but they've been able to go in and cache them and all, and it works as fast, it's responsive. I think it worked really well. We've actually started using it for all our flood zone stuff, because it's just easier and quicker. So, but we'll get y'all a link to that, and we'll just replace it on our website. When you click on, the way you all traditionally went there, and go to this new one instead of Binary Bus. That'll be operational pretty soon. That's all I have.
And one last thing, this also came in after the committee reports were put together. From Mr. Rick Lott, they are seeking nominations for the chamber board seats. Ms. Donna King and Barbara Oglesby seats are up. Those are the two nominations. They are asking to receive nominations by the 25th of March.
This is for,
Chamber.
Just, they'll be asking for that from all of the chamber membership, and they're also mentioning it to us. It's not like our own appointment. March what?
25th.
So that's the president and what else? Barbara's like president?
No, Scott Henson's the president.
Okay, so what are the seats?
That was last year, so.
Yeah.
It doesn't say which seats, it just gives their names to board positions.
Well, if Donna was past president, and it's got to automatically become past president.
Yeah.
We don't know if Barbara's the secretary or treasurer or what.
Don't know, it just gives a list of the board roster. But I'll forward the email to you all.
Thomas, remember we had talked, the IDA has that piece of property they want to have a meeting February 20th about. You want to discuss that?
Yeah, I don't know anything other than what you told me. I was going to mention it.
Yeah, I don't have the paperwork. Yeah, you said something about mentioning the committee reports.
Yeah, I think
They
we
can
went
certainly
forward
see-
paperwork, and I forgot, I wrote it down, it was February 20th, I think.
Force it's not the ID's property.
Whose is it? It's a conservancy.
It's, yes, I don't know exactly how much they have, because no plats have been brought forward. But it was a part of a large piece owned by Mr. Powell's that was a big nasty.
Right, it's about 1,000 acres. And they're looking.
The total parcel was, yes, it was very large, and I don't know.
It can be used for recreation, but not for ball fields and things like that, walking trails.
I don't know what it is.
And they're looking for input from the community. The meeting is typically scheduled, I think, 6 o'clock, 20th February, but I believe we'll bring it up.
So I'm trying to understand the IDA is looking.
It is an idea, they're helping.
Aaron Ron is facilitating the meeting, as I understand it.
For the Big Nasty?
For the Conservancy.
For the Conservancy that's purchasing or.
Who's donating, from what I understand.
Yeah, that has control of this property.
It's not in Mr. House's possession anymore, and it can be used for recreation purposes other than ball fields and things of that nature for the community.
Does he have any of that
He
property
kept
available?
about, he kept about 180
Yes,
acres.
like I said, as far as I know, I mean, I've never seen a plat from him, so I have no idea how they got it divided.
Okay.
I-
The
But
meeting.
yes, he kept a portion of it that the Big Nasty property operates on, the balance of it, he gave some conservancy. They've been around for 6 or 8 months asking these same questions. I think they're just now having some sort of
And the meeting being
organized.
held at the
Probably
chamber
very
building?
good.
I believe so.
What he gave is probably with.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
That it?
That's all I know.
I don't have anything on.
Bill? I'm good. Greg? You might, I was waiting to see if you was gonna mention the fact that we did get that money from the city of Romulus.
Yeah, I was about to do that right now.
I'll-
But I'll let you do it since you brought it
No,
up.
go ahead.
Yeah, we did receive, Lord, I guess, a year and a half ago, whenever it was, when we started on the tower upgrades, the south tower upgrades, Rankin offered to contribute $80,000 towards that, as long as we didn't use general fund dollars to fund that. And they wanted to give it once the upgrades were completed. Those upgrades have been completed, that tower is operational, and we did receive a check for $80,000 from the city of Rankin. A month ago. I don't remember how long it was. It's been a while.
I thought everybody needed to know we did get to it. All right.
What about the plat?
I haven't asked this week. I asked to be put on the city City of Rankin's agenda to talk to council and find out what it's gonna take for me to get it, and I was told that we should just set a closing date and tell Raymond to have it there, but I don't know if we've done anything towards it.
I have not. I was, again, told to give Raymond a call. I have not done that yet either.
Well, we need to get that finalized.
Yes, sir.
And if I'm on an agenda, tell me where I'm supposed to be and when.
Let you know when they let me know. Yes, sir.
Can we go back to the road list? I've been doing some math. Y'all all looking at this list? If you look at this list and you do the ones that Lamig, which is item number 3, item number 7, and item number 9, those are already on the Lamig list, right?
Yes, sir.
And if you add Honey Ridge Road, which is a priority, and I agree with Forested, so that road needs to be done. I just don't know that that number right there includes bridge work.
It does, but that would come out of the drainage fund.
Okay.
There's $140,000 in short-term work program just under drainage.
Because
and
we would fund without fixing that culvert.
Yeah, we would fund that particular improvement out of drainage.
All right. And then the rest of this list, if I do my math correct, and like you say, all of these need to be done, but if we do not do number 2, if we do not do number 4 at this time, and we do not do Old Dixie Highway, which is number 6, we can fund everything else on this list for under the $2.5 million.
Which ones you said don't do which ones?
If we do not do 2, which is Oliver Kildare Better, we do not do Little McCall Road from Courthouse to McCall.
Okay.
And we do not do Old Dixie Highway from State Route 119 to Clive Shawnee Road.
Okay.
If my math is correct, and I'm doing it on this phone calculator, but that's under the $2.5 million by some $30,000. So using that scenario,
2.471.
uh,
Yeah, 2.47177493. I would agree, that is below 2.5.
Your calculator works.
yeah, there's none of these roads, and honestly, I've ridden all of them except for the Oliver Kildare Road. I didn't get up there yet, but I have family that let me know very often how bad that road
It
needs
is.
to be.
It sure is.
And all of these roads need to be done in addition to, I did mention Goshen the other day. If we don't do something with Goshen, pretty soon we're gonna have the same problem. We're gonna have to go out there and cut out sections. But that's the same way it is with a lot of roads.
Well,
So I don't know how to prioritize. I'm just trying to figure out how to get the projects done and stretch the dollar as far as we can.
I think that makes sense. On number 2, Oliver Kildare, there's one particular section that's really bad. Maybe we can just fix that one where it's gated up and you're gonna call it an issue at some point.
And that's the area we've patched and.
Yeah, so we could go in and do some deep patching on that in preparation. Little McCall probably okay. You need to have another section from Courthouse and McCall better. But if we do some of the realignments that we've spoken about in the past, I think it's better off to maybe not do that right now.
Because I think it'd be some throwaway money down there.
Yeah. And Old Dixie Highway, I believe, is so much higher just because it's long, it's almost 7.5 miles. It's just a long stretch of roadway.
So I throw that out there for y'all's consideration, and I know Reggie's not here to give his 2 cents for it. Part of that's his area.
Well, I can wrap this up in a list in an email and send it back out to everybody if y'all ponder it, if you like that.
Well, to put this thing so we can move it forward, that would be my recommendation.
unless someone else has an issue with that tonight, I'll do that. I will send the Stephanie.
I know Reggie's concerns was along Grady Road.
And that's on there too, we've been taking care of that. And we've been talking about that for 2 years.
And probably what I'll do, Mr. Chairman, since we have 30,000 or so extra dollars here,
Well, I figure we're gonna use that up to go up there and patch Oliver Kildare, that section, or we're gonna have some money, if I ever get the deeds for this road, we're gonna have to start doing some work, and it's gonna take a little bit to start that process.
I'll get Jerry to pull out specifically the patching of that one area, because he had to figure to come up with these numbers anyhow. We just didn't give you all the background data of all the individualized pieces of how he came up with those, and send y'all another note of that, of just doing that one part.
But I got enough people calling me on other roads, I'm sure I can give you plenty of place to spend the other 30,000 or every other dollar you can find.
Never be a shortage on that.
How will we bid these out? Will we bid on each individual road, or this will be a package deal? Here's 10 roads.
That's what he was saying about getting the benefit of if you get them contiguous.
We get the best quantity discounts and everything if we can. But I would love for us as a board, or I'd like to really look at the contracts before we let the work to get done. Some of the last work, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't totally happy with it.
That's what I was gonna ask about bunion tests, are they done looked at that anymore? We don't really have a verdict on that yet.
Yeah, I talked to Jerry this morning. Zitzauer appears to be exhibiting the same problem, so it looks like it might be an ash issue.
A couple of those were the process that we knew we had to test.
We kind of knew it was
Yeah.
open.
And on Bunyan, it came up fairly quickly. You know, we were out there looking at it, everybody one day, and within a couple of weeks, so that's why we were watching Zitzauer, because it was a month or so behind it. They did Bunyan catch up, then move to Zitzauer, so we wanted to give it that amount of time, and it looks like it's starting to do the same thing. So if it does, it may be the ash. So we are still looking at it. I don't have a complete answer for you yet. But I think we will pretty soon, because again, there was just a small delay between the two.
Is that okay with everybody? All right, moving forward.
Now, go back to what you just said, though, you want to look at the contract. What do you want to look at? And I ask that for a reason, because depending on how we bid these.
What is our stipulation on what do we accept? I mean,
I got you. Ride quality, we can put DOT ride, again, it's all prices. It's going to cost you more money to put ride quality controllers, or we can do it. We paid more on Blue Jay and McCall per ton because we made them do those MTVs, the shuttle buggies, which is supposed to stop those joints in between each one. You know, they like to start and stop each time, so you don't have where the distributor starts and stops.
Sure didn't eliminate the rough riders.
I understand. And we did not spec ride quality like DOT, where they put a little machine in it, measures it and so forth. And again, what I was getting around to is to see what you were asking. When we, public works construction law, if we just do an invitation to bid, it's low price. We don't really, unless it's lowest responsible bidder. If you do RFPs, you can do other factors. So if the board wanted to look at something to say, we want to have some leeway in who we choose as a contractor, it's the delivery method, the bid method that we use to do that with.
Well, I'm not smart enough to know all of that, but what I'm saying is, we've got a limited amount of money to spend. I hate to spend it and have a poor quality road after we spend it. I mean, I don't think that's good stewardship. But if it's gonna cost us twice as much money and we're gonna get half as much done, then we've gotta make a decision. Are we happy to do less quality and get more done? I don't know the trade-off.
It's the enforceable way we want to enforce the ride quality standards in the contract. However, let me just say we've had better luck with some contractors than others.
I know. So if all we can do is take the low bid,
Depends on how we bid.
well, that's what I'm saying. That's all I'm trying to say is how do we get it to where we can bid it, get the best price and get a good quality?
There's two of those bid names, and one of them allows you to take that into account more so.
Do RFPs, or request for proposals instead of invitation to bid. The invitation to bid is lowest responsible bidder, as long as they meet the bid criteria, basically. They did the bid bonds, they get paid performance bonds, they, noted all addendums, applied in, accordance with the terms of the contract or the ITB. But if we do an RFP, it gives us some ability to negotiate within that. And in all honesty, most of the ones that we use are generally very close in price, but we've had better luck with some of those.
Well, whatever you gotta do to get it, because I don't want to get another phone call like I got and saying, you're spending my money to pay roads and.
Okay. That's what
One word was, we appreciate not having a pothole, but, I hate to have a rough ride.
Yes, sir. I understand. That's all I'm asking. And I can work with you on work on delivery method.
I don't know how you do it. I mean, does anybody disagree with me?
Not this one,
I like the way you reserve your right to disagree.
I just like to not have it be.
Any other staff? Think we'd be toss up in that. Animal control's under control?
Honest work.
Nobody else? I need that motion. We have something for executive.
Make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel, property, and criminal litigation.
Motion and a second, all in favor? None opposed, we stand so adjourned. During executive session, something was brought up that needs action. I would ask for a motion to add the item for classification title of the animal shelter.
We added new business number 10.
New business number 10.
I'd like to make a motion that we add to the agenda new business number 10 to add reclassification or classification of a new job for the animal control department, shelter coordinator.
I have a motion on the floor.
Second.
And a second. All in favor to add?
Aye.
None opposed, stands so added. Being added, the item before us is a recommended classification title to create a job description of shelter coordinator to better realize the positions needed to man the animal shelter. Have all commissioners been presented with a draft copy of that? Is there any question? Do I have a motion to adopt that classification title?
It's called shelter coordinator.
For shelter coordinator.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the new job description presented to us for shelter coordinator at the animal control.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So approved. Any other business to come before this board?
Yes.
Oh, I'm about to forget. Thank you very much. About the time I got it out of my mind. Consideration to approve the January 20th, 2015 executive session minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve those minutes as presented.
Second. Motion and a second to approve. Any opposed? So carried. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, thank you. So carried. Must be ready to go home. And with that being said, if no other business, I'll look for that motion.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
A second?
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? stand so adjourned.